speaking, which is called prana, or life energy. In our understanding, consciousness reflects on matter in the form of what we call the bioenergetic field. But how exactly does it work when consciousness reflects on matter and creates a bioenergetic field? We identify the bioenergetic field by certain quantum properties, especially by water within the organism. Our organism, as well as the organism of other mammals, consists of 99.5% water molecules. These water molecules have a very important property that makes them a good target for the influence of consciousness, or, as we would call it, the inner side of life, which in our experience is not just consciousness, but also information. In other words, it is a reflection of the external reality onto an internal reality which consists of information and consciousness. Water molecules are dipoles, meaning they have a positive and negative side due to a shift of the electrons within the water molecules. For this reason, they align themselves through electrical forces. Therefore, waves with different frequencies can propagate in water. In this way, water can vibrate in certain patterns. Due to this property, water in a living being can vibrate almost like a liquid crystal. This very special property that manifests itself in water when all the molecules are vibrating at the same frequency is, as we understand it, coherence. But they vibrate not only with the same frequency, but also with the same phase, meaning that they rise and fall simultaneously. In this way, the influence of this inner aspect of life, of information, and of consciousness causes the water to vibrate in phase with certain frequencies, and so-called coherent domains are created. Coherent domains are small areas, starting at nanometers to micrometers, but can grow to centimeters or even larger, in which the water as a whole vibrates and forms dynamic structures like liquid crystals. In this way, coherence is in our understanding a property of life. Wherever life exists, you will find coherence. This means that many parts combine to form one unit and behave like one unit by vibrating at one frequency and in phase with each other. When living things form groups, they begin to behave as one, like a school of fish or a flock of birds in the sky. In our experience, there is no particular effect for this kind of behavior coming from the birds or the fish maybe talking to each other or persuading each other to swim or fly together in a certain way. Instead, there is coherent information that manifests itself in multiple parts of the whole. Another example is people meeting at an event. How and why did they get together at a certain time and place? It is because they all received the same information. For example, through an email specifying the time and place. In short, they all received the same information. In our experience, this is the case for any coherent system. In any coherent system, the different parts behave as if they were one because they all received the same information from a higher level of information. This higher level of information in a living being is its inner side, consisting of consciousness and information. In this case, according to our understanding, the information comes from the quantum reality level through a dynamic process. Through such a dynamic process, all parts receive the same information and behave as if they were one unit without having to interact with each other. We're talking here about pure information, which is the lowest energy state, causing all parts to behave as one. The inner side of a living being is just one subject. We cannot be two subjects or three subjects. This unity is a quantum property of the inside and manifests itself externally as coherent behavior, so that all the different parts, such as small atoms, molecules, and macromolecules, behave as one living entity with one common goal, which is to survive. In water, it seems that because of its dipole structure, that this inner side of life, the informational side, manifests itself through coherent behavior. In water, there are coherent domains at different levels of a hierarchy and in different forms. A very specific form of coherent domains appears when electric fields propagate in the organism, in water, in a self-focused way, so to speak. This self-focused propagation causes electric fields to propagate in strings. Such a string may be long, but its diameter is very small, bordering on negligible. In this illustration, originally by Giuseppe Vitiello and Emilio Del Giudice, we can see how an electric field is propagating in such a string-like geometry. In water, it is coherent, and outside of water, it is not. Such a string-like coherent domain can be a few micrometers long, it can be several centimeters long, or it could also be 1 meter long. The diameter of such a string-like coherent domain is about 140 angstroms, which is 14 nanometers, just a few atoms. At the surface, a strong electrical gradient is created between the inner and outer electric fields, resulting in forces that attract molecules to the surface of such a string. Such strings are present in our body, for example in the cells as microtubules. Microtubules are string-like structures that form the cytoskeleton, a skeleton of the cell that gives the cell its shape. But it not only gives the cell its shape, like a skeleton does to the body, it is also responsible for 70 to 80% of all metabolic processes in the cell. The transport of nutrients, the transport of energy, and many other properties of the cell depend on microtubules, which are also constantly moving in the cell. It is a very dynamic system. On the surface of microtubules, certain proteins called tubulin are arranged in a certain regular pattern. There is an Indian scientist, his name is Anirban Bandyopadhyay, who has conducted experiments with microtubules. He used a hot soup of proteins and applied certain frequencies through electric fields, and microtubules fell out of the soup. The lengths of microtubules generated in this way by an electrical frequency depend only on the frequency. The higher the frequencies used, the longer the microtubules that fall out. They are like microscopic cylindrical crystals. Inside the microtubules is water, in fact, pure water in a quantum state, as it is well shielded from its environment by the protein shell. On the outside of these microtubules, motor proteins move and transport large molecules. It is an amazing structure that we see in the cells. According to Vitiello and Milani and Del Giudice, this structure seems to be based on the property of water to form string-like coherent domains. These kinds of domains are formed inside the cells. Here is an example from another publication to which Giuseppe Vitiello also contributed, but its main authors are Carlos Dallin and Claudia Maria Radu. They studied the response of the microtubule cytoskeleton to the application of music, sounds, and frequencies. They came to the very interesting conclusion that different types of music have different effects. For example, if you choose a fast rhythm and commercial music, you can see that the structure of microtubules under the fluorescence microscope is almost dissolved. They become invisible. Loud noise has the same or a similar effect. Highly harmonic music, such as classical music or mantra music used in meditation, on the other hand, creates a very brilliant harmonic microtubule structure. Vitiello also suggested that the meridian system of the human organism, or any organism, is also based on the aforementioned dynamic principle, and that the meridians are also stable, connected, long, string-like structures in the body that can change and shift their position. They can have average positions, and these average positions have been known for thousands of years in the tradition of China, where we know the 12 meridians, or in India, where we have what they call the nadis, representing different energy channels in the body. So this kind of bioenergetic fields, the meridian system or the nadi system, seem to be coherent quantum structures in the water of our body. For this reason, we can say that water is a material form of the information field. According to our understanding, the information field, which represents the inner side of a living being and is composed of consciousness and information, manifests itself through quantum dynamics in certain quantum properties of the water that represents these coherent structures. According to Emilio Del Giudice and Giuseppe Vitiello, this string-like bioenergetic field has resonance frequencies. In a stringed instrument like a harp, each string has a different resonant frequency depending on its tension. If you increase the tension, the frequency increases. This is a formula that was also published in 1986 by Delgadici and Vitiello, containing many components. For example, nu 0K is the resonant frequency. The frequency of an externally applied field is nu. When the externally applied frequencies are close to the resonant frequencies, this term becomes very large. As we understand it, strong forces, be they attractive or repulsive, can be generated by, e.g., applying an external frequency to the bioenergetic field or to these string-like coherent domains. If you hit the right frequencies, these coherent strings can be activated to attract molecules from their environment, structure their environment, or break them up. Therefore, as we have learned in the example of the Indian scientist, frequencies can be used to activate proteins in the soup to build microtubules. This formula also shows how this works by simply coming close to certain resonant frequencies. Experiments have shown that microtubules have resonant frequencies in the hertz range, kilohertz range, megahertz range, or even beyond. They always jump in 3 dimensions from 0 to kilohertz to megahertz, almost like a musical code. In this way, you can think of the bioenergetic field of your organism as a beautiful harp with many strings, each with its own resonant frequencies, which you can use as an instrument for playing beautiful music. All the ancient cultures knew about this. They used prayers, songs, and mantras with different techniques to tune, harmonize, and play the instruments of the bioenergetic field of the body. But before you can play beautiful music, you have to tune your instrument. In our experience, the application of electromagnetic frequencies can serve to tune the bioenergetic field of your organism, and in this way, the frequencies can help to harmonize the bioenergetic field. What does harmonization of the bioenergetic field mean? Harmonization of the creation and propagation of the meridians and microtubules. We therefore hypothesize that with coherent harmonic frequencies applied with very low intensity electric or magnetic fields, the bioenergetic field of the human body can be harmonized. This is comparable to tuning the bioenergetic field. When the bioenergetic field is well tuned, you can play it, creating a very beautiful symphony of your life.